Good afternoon, this is Dan Howe, PTI Securities and Futures for your Thursday, August 18th daily wrap-up. Overnight transactions last night, a relatively wide market. The S&Ps had a range of almost 30 points overnight. The Asian markets were down a little bit. The European markets were down a little bit more. Before the earnings, before the opening, we had quite a bit of fundamental data. The CPI came in a little worse than expected, 0.5 versus 0.2. The CPI core also came in a little bit worse, but it was rounding error, so it wasn't really a big deal. Jobs number came in a little bit worse also. It was 408 versus they were looking for around 400. So all that kind of meant a little bit of a negative going into the opening. However, the market opened down a little bit, even further from where it closed last night, and it continued down for the first hour. As you can see from the graph here, the market took another fairly substantial leg down when the Philly Fed came out. The Philly Fed came in at negative 30.7, and we were looking for basically a flat Philly Fed. So we mentioned earlier in the week, I think it was the Monday wrap-up when the New York Fed came out. The New York Fed was negative, but people didn't take it too seriously because not that much manufacturing goes on in the New York Fed. And the Philly Fed, where there was more manufacturing, would be more of a key number. Well, it certainly was, and you can see the leg the market took down when that actually happened. During the course of the day, the only earnings we had, Sears Holdings, was a little bit negative. Obviously, the people on the low end are not doing very well on the consumer side, so therefore the retailers that service the low end is not doing well. The only good earnings news today was Smucker's came in a little bit better, but the market continued down until the last half hour, and then we rallied a little bit on the close. And you can see that we had a fairly substantial rally. We were down over 500 points at one point on the Dow. We closed down only 419. But the SPX closed down 53 at 1140. The Dow closed down 419 at 10441. The NASDAQ closed down 131. Another major story of the day is the 10-year note was unbelievably popular today. We were bid all day. At one point, the yield on a 10-year note went below 2 to 1.98. It closed at 2.08. This is the first time ever that the yield of the 10-year note has been below 2%. The dollar closed fairly strong at 74.21, up 0.8. Be real interesting, even though we closed fairly strong, rallying almost 120 points in the last 20 minutes of the day, still was a very negative day and hardly any news tomorrow. There's no real earnings of note and there's no fundamental data coming out, so it'll be very interesting to see how the foreign markets digest the news of today's activity. It's been Dan Howe for PTI Securities and Futures.